that you get to, set up the nursery. So my husband and I were going to because instead of the nursery, they were going to set up a school lab for her. So, about 1 month back, I bought my first 3D printer, 3D printer, and I hadn't used it until like last weekend. And then we started building things for our baby girl's nursery, and it was so amazing. Instead of focusing on her, now we are so excited about creating things and putting it in her nursery, which is another part. But this morning I was talking to Bre, and I'm like, what you've done is so magical. You made someone, an individual like me, a designer. You've given me the power to go and build things that are in my head and just build it in my home. And I think that is amazingly powerful for what Bre has done for this industry. So it's such an honor to welcome Bre here to Qualcomm. Just a little bit background about Bre Pettis. Bre has led MakerBot, a global leader in 3D printing technology, as a CEO since 2009. But he has a very long history of making things and inspire others to make things. Prior to co-founding MakerBot, Bre was also the co-founder of Brooklyn Hacker Collective, which is in New York, where MakerBot technology was first concocted, tested, and proven. He was instrumental in building the first prototype for MakerBot's 3D printer and has become known worldwide as a leading evangelist for personal manufacturing. In 2006, Bre also started something called as Beacon Project, which I'm sure many of you are aware of. It was a video podcast for Make magazine, where he taught millions of viewers to make things, from pinhole cameras to bicycles to hovercraft. He also introduced the blog at a popular online handcraft marketplace, which is Etsy. And prior to both those endeavors, he's been a teacher, and it was pretty evident in our discussion this morning how passionate he is about making magic happen and making this 3D technology available to students who feel extremely empowered. In 2012, Bre was honored with the Disruptive Innovation Award from the Tribeca Film Festival for creating an entire ecosystem for desktop 3D printing. And Foreign Policy also has named him as the top 60 on their list of 2013 global thinkers. We are so excited to share the next hour with Bre, so please join me in welcoming Bre Pettis.
Wow, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I started to get to know Qualcomm last year. I spoke at an event last year and met a bunch of folks from here. And you've got something special going on. This is Qualcomm is this. You've got something like there's. My company is only, MakerBot's only 600 people, and we're part of a bigger organization that's a couple thousand people. And Qualcomm is much bigger than that. But you still, I still see people, and there's a feeling here like it's still intimate. I see people I've met before. It's cozy, and there's this, things you can tell things are happening here. There's things that are getting cooked up and steamed up in the skunk works, hiding in secret locations throughout the buildings that you might not know about, and stuff is going on. And with the Impact program, it's not easy as an organization to stay innovative. Actually, it's probably the hardest thing for a large organization to do. And from what I can tell, Impact is basically a way of working with folks to make interesting things happen and escalate them into potential products and other adventures. So I just think it's cool. So at MakerBot, we're an innovation company, and I like to say we started MakerBot like pyromaniacs. If you've ever met an actual pyromaniac, they actually just want to set things on fire, period, dot. And when we started MakerBot, we set up. We were in this group. I set up this group called NYC Resistor, which was all these hardware hackers in New York City. And we literally, because in New York City nobody has a workshop, they're in garages, you all get the benefit of having garages like that. And so we just created a space where we could all share. And you actually have, I've visited a few different places that look a lot like a hackerspace in this building earlier today. Here we have, this is my friend Raphael and one of my co-founders, Adam. And he's laughing maniacally because he's operating a cocktail robot. And pro tip, don't put a random button on a cocktail robot. It's just deadly. This was a place where we could have bad ideas and execute on them, where we could have absurd ideas, like a cocktail robot with a random button. Things like that, like tequila, whiskey, gin, and bitters. And it's just, you shouldn't put those things together, but go technology. The idea of having a place to experiment, of having a place to make things happen, of being able to set up an infrastructure that had an openness to it so we could play. And there's something special about the absurd. When you do absurd things, you enter a space where you're doing something that, by being absurd, it's new ground, and you sort of get, oftentimes you get innovation for free when you work on a project that is absurd. Before MakerBot, I was working on a show where every week I would make a video. I'd make something, I'd make a video of it, and then I'd publish it on Friday at noon, which is insane. And it was one of the, so every week I'd be like, this week I'm going to make hovercraft. And then by the end of the week I'd have a video of hovercraft and working. And usually I'd have to make two because the first one was great. And so one of the things that came out of that is I realized I was living this crazy lifestyle, this very rapid prototyping lifestyle. And so I had just started dating this woman, Kia Stark, who's now my partner and mother of my child. And in about 20 minutes we came up with this sort of the cult of done manifesto, and like any good manifesto. And I encourage you all to make a manifesto. It helps you figure out like what's important and what the core components are. Like it has to contradict itself. That's one of the rules of manifestos. You look at any manifesto and it's messy. So we got like, accept that everything is a draft, but there's no editing stage. So it's one of those. This is one of the themes for me in my life. Is I've set up rules. So before this, I was an art teacher and I tried being an artist, and I set up rules for the way that I thought I was going to have an impact on the art world. And it turns out I missed the one main component of being an artist, which is to go out and socialize with time, because selling art is more of a social adventure than actually a beautiful things adventure. But this idea of setting up rules for yourself, when we at MakerBot, when we merged with a bigger company, we ended up basically making another manifesto, the MakerBot way, of how we work as an organization and the things that we find really important. And it took us a day to put this together, but it was really things that we were just saying over and over again. So it wasn't like this was new, it wasn't something that we came up with that was a surprise to anybody. If you've worked with me, I'm always like, okay, that's the end of our meeting, full speed ahead, put the pedal to the metal, damn the torpedoes, let's go. And so the fact that it ends with full speed ahead really matches with that. And, we got started from really, I would like to say we were really efficient. There's probably we were really cheap as well. So we had to get things done without many resources, and so it became really important that we made good connections, good friends, and that we work to maintain those relationships. So that when we launch something, we invite 60 journalists and 70 show up instead of usually you invite 60 journalists and you can get like 20% to show up. So we end up building relationships is also a big part of what we do. And I think when you can do this for yourself, you can do this for your department, you can do this at kind of a top level down if you want, but having something like this is one of the sort of secrets of MakerBot. Having this allows us to have a culture of creativity that allows people to make mistakes, to try again, and iterate into a better future. So, challenge for you, make a manifesto. And I think that sounds trivial. It's actually like, it only took me 20 minutes to make the Cult of Done manifesto with Kia Stark, but it took me like 2 years of living that lifestyle before I could figure out what I was doing. So it's not an easy, it's challenging. So we started a 3D printer company. We wanted a 3D printer, and they were like $100,000, and they were the size of a refrigerator, and we couldn't get a hold of one, so we did what any good a hacker does. We made one. And of course, it didn't work very well. we were absolutely delighted that you could make bunnies and they had ears. And there's two ways to engineering. Well, really, I'm kind of